Wait, did my stream just... No, seems to be fine. You may find the price of your defense quite high, my good friend. Quite high. Is this the truth that Mr. Wright was talking about? Justice, you know what you have to do. He's lying, I suppose, now. Yes, sir. Think, what's Mr. Wright trying to tell me with this testimony? It has to be in somewhere. Let me look over the evidence. Wait, he had his hat on. Is that it? Because he had his hat on before that. When he was dead, yeah. Wait, the first crime he had his hat on. He wouldn't have seen this. Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. Justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put in a little more oomph into it. Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? Ah, forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat on his head. Eh? You put the hat on the dead man's head? He wore it throughout the entire program. After calling the police when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view, shining bright, just like in this photograph. And I picked his head up from the floor and put it on his hand. Why you do a thing like that? All I can say is, I'm sorry. But that's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So, Miss Ollie didn't see it. It being the victim's, his head. I think not. She was caught. I believe I was the only one who witnessed his head. Here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon. It just seems as though Clyde is determined to lie his way throughout his case. Hey, he's still our client, isn't he? Huh. Yeah, I think my stream just dropped for a second, but it seems to be up again. I believe there's enough of that. Mr. Gavin? This witness testimony is a little more like a travesty. It's rid of lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. What? He's lost his badge? Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Christoph. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. When I noticed the trap, I put a cotton ball to solve it. And when I put the head on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well. What would be the reason that he did that? A reason? That reason is right here. Your cell phone? That night, recall I spoke with defense attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I record our conversation. What's this? Now we're all here. I see no reason why I shouldn't play it for the call. Oh, that's so smart. Christoph, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game's not going well. Something like that. That gentleman I challenged you. He turned out to be good. He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone china head? It wasn't you, was it? Me, please. The cops should be here any moment. I'm in your hands. Should it come to that. Bonechan, he would not know this. If you only see him with his hat on, you would not know that. You would not know that. You only would know that if you have seen him without his hat. Oh. Kind of puzzle and very smooth and shiny, and not play by paint. I believe he was referring to St. Jasmine balding forehead. The court appreciates the defense discretion in not indicating my forehead. Wait a second. Something's not right about that Funko. So, after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Roachbow Club? Most certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this? Bone China pad. Oh, right. Alright, yes. That was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. And when I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court. Exactly how did you come by your privilege and knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason. The reason why you put the victim's head back on. Your point, Mr. Gavin. It's come down to this, has it? Phoenix, right? Order! I will have order! Mr. Payne! Yes, Your Honor. I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear defense attorney Gavin's testimony? Well, as the prosecutor, I... Very well, we break for 10 minutes. After which Mr. Gavin will take the stand for cross-examination. Are we all clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well, this will be the final recess for the day. April 20th, 2:32 p.m. District Court Defense Lobby, number 2, number 3. Mr. Gavin, Mr. Ryder, both in Judge's chamber. Who would have thought today would turn out like this? May I? What? Hello, sir. Please speak account. What's all this about? Is this one okay? Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You need a trump card to make it. A trump card? The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely, and the game is yours. That's all. That's Phoenix's daughter, right? An ace. Where do you remember that from? An ace with blood on it. Mr. Smith has 3 aces and Mr. Wright's 2. It is 5 aces in all. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. It was cheating, I swear to you. Missing 5th ace. Wait. This blood is red. Is this blood? You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw. The truth. My father's fate is in your hand. I know you can do it. Yeah, so this is right, daughter. This blood-stained card. Is my trump card for finding the truth? I fell deeply into thought as my mind raced to understand what this all meant. That girl. I've seen her recently, but where? That's when I made the connection. Bloody ace added to the court record. Rendezvous, 2:45 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 2. Let's check this ace. Single draw of blood marks front of card. So that's going to be a trump card, I see. Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christopher Gavin, will you please take the stand? Nothing, if you would, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. Well, Mr. The witness status, name, and occupation. Is as far as necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this courtroom. Fine, I'll play along. First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret underneath the victim's head? By secret, I'm guessing it means the fact that Mrs. Smith was bald. Forgive my curiosity, but what was it about this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in it. Hearing Phoenix. Phoenix is on our side now. Oh, yes, this is the objection theme. This is the original one. Oh, okay, that's fucking amazing. What the fuck? That's Ace Attorney 1 and 2 and 3 is also objection theme. Ooh, that's so cool. I wouldn't call it an order, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Wright, what do you think you're doing, right? Well, things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo. Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore their hat all night, never once taking it off, except for that one time. That one time being the instant he was hit. Oh. When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, that was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to have been there in the height of the time of the crime. In other words, I'm a serial killer. Is what you're trying to say. Not bad, Apollo. Mr. Gavin? I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court. What? Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation, I still lack a reason to hide anything. Very well, allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night. Finally, you may begin your court testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events of that fateful night? That fateful night. The rage I sensed at midnight troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright, holding a bottle in his hand. I thought it was not the best place for me to be at the time, and so I left. That's when the call came from Wright. So, you witnessed the murder? For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you are on Mr. Wright's defense team. Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client. What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand after all. So yeah, Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify as you did. You just had to tell me you saw the scene of crime through that little window. Mr. Wright, you had to say that. Because that was the only probable window of opportunity, right, Apollo? Oh. Mr. Wright, the defense should do cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared? Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. Let me check out some of the evidence. I think I first need info before I can do anything. That man, you mean Mr. Smith? He was different from the other customers. His aura, shall we say. I knew he was a serious poker player, but it was more than that. So then you knew the true nature of your client's job? Of course, but I also knew he wasn't engaged in gambling, which would be illegal. Well, it makes sense that he knew. They were friends after all. Right for my friend, I returned to the club. You see, I feared that Mrs. Smith might be someone coming to settle an old score. I see what happened then. The little window. You mean the one used to keep watch up the stairs? Yes, a relic of the ancient past. The black marketer used it, I believe. Why did you go through the trouble of peeking through the window? Wouldn't it have been easier to just open the door and go into a room? I didn't want to upset Wright, you see. Upset Mr. Wright? Yes, what if my fears have been unfounded? I'll be walking on that match. Bad form, to say the least. So far, everything he says makes sense. How do you know it was right after the murder? Oh really, no need to shout justice. I was just getting to the part of my testimony. Ah, there it is. The coolest defense in the West. We know and love. Even when you're standing up there on the witness stand, some things never change. I was afraid you changed too, right? But you haven't. You and that overbearing personality of yours. A friend like these, who needs enemies? By photo, you mean the second photograph of the crime scene? Precisely. You see, he wasn't wearing his hat then. I saw his hat, when he was dead. And then Mr. Wright came along and replaced his hat. Can you describe the scene of the crime for us? A bald head and unconscious girl, and Wright, holding a bottle in his hand. But Phoenix left the wreck. No, Phoenix would not have been there. As we know, Phoenix would not have been there because he notified the police. Can I press this already? Okay, not yet. Because as we know, Phoenix went calling police. Only 3 at the scene of crime. Yes, as far as I saw at least. Somewhere back when we started, the killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright. Who else could have been? But why didn't you talk to the police? 2 reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend Wright. Even after seeing what I've seen, I couldn't abandon my friend. There must have been someone else there at the moment of crime. Justice, I just said, so no one. Not a soul. But that goes against what Miss Wright said. Ah yes, this mysterious 4th person. Who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose. Let us hear you agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap cards in the victim's hand? Perhaps you can show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary. Oh. I remember, Apollo. The card that was swapped out was 5 days. 5 days, right. It's just, I have it. And you got the trump card. Show evidence. It's now or never. The defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out. Yeah, now I can present evidence. And go ahead and point out the reason. It's just, why did the killer take the 5 days? Because there was blood on it. My reason is this. Is it an ace? Why? Why? It's got blood on it. Right next to the spade. What? What? This is insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why? Could this be the missing 5th ace? Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why Mr. Gavin's so upset? Just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is I picked it up at the Roachborough Club that night after the murder had occurred. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are a stock and trade after all. No, impossible, unacceptable. The court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud. A fraud? How could you be so sure? What? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason? The reason for the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime. Where are you going with this? Take another look at the photo and at the victim's head. At the moment of crime, his head fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood ran from his forehead down to the back of his head. Couldn't the drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose. The killer then took the card to hide the blood. Regardless, that evidence is non-permissible. Oh? Right, regardless of how you wasted these last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question. What are you talking about? You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now, I've told you. The one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see. This is baseless conjecture. Baseless. Oh, I assure you, it's quite based. What? It's amazing, really. How a single drop of blood on a card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo? Yes?